What's up everyone? I wanted to talk to you guys a little about statistics because I saw a lot of people talking about them after Valorant Champions. Specifically, I saw quite a few people talking about FNS, talking about how if he had just performed a little bit better, maybe OpTic would have won. And I think what I'm looking at here is that specifically in these last two games that OpTic played, we can see a pretty horrendous scoreline, 5-17, and on the previous map, Breeze, 8-21. Now, these are pretty egregiously bad kill death ratios, but Valorant is not as simple as kills and deaths. There's a lot more that goes into the game. Let's not even discuss the IGL factor yet. Let's specifically just talk about the stats that we can see from the game data itself. And I want to just kind of talk and compare how FNS's performance stacks up compared to other players. Is he actually the problem on OpTic? Is he the reason that they didn't win champions? And luckily, I have been a huge nerd and actually tracked all of the players' performances on every single map, because the thing about Valorant is that it's not as simple as just looking at, damage per round. It's not as simple as looking at headshot percentage or clutch or first kills or any of that, because there's too many moving pieces. Each map has different sort of characteristics in different areas of the map, and different people play in different areas of the map, and that's going to affect how the game goes. And then on top of that, we have agents and roles. So you can't really take somebody who's playing Chamber every map and compare them to somebody who's playing Brimstone or Viper, because those characters do completely different things. And if the Chamber player has 200 ACS and the Viper player only has 150 ACS, the chances are the Viper player is actually probably having a better game and more impact than the Chamber player, because those characters are meant to do different things. The easiest way to do this is to actually just take every single map and then look at every single player on every single agent individually. And by doing that, we can kind of have a little bit more parity when we compare how people are doing. So let's go ahead and sort this data that we have here on the map Ascent by the character that FNS played on the map. We can find FNS here. He played Fade and he played Killjoy. We can see that there are about 8 people who played Killjoy. And then we can sort this by ACS. And we can see that FNS is actually the lowest performing Killjoy on Ascent. And then if we sort by kill death ratio, again, lowest performing Killjoy on Ascent. But we also have to think about, is ACS actually that important for a Killjoy? And I would say it's kind of important, but it's not that important. I would say that maybe damage per round is more important. FNS still at the bottom here, so that's maybe not a good sign for his performance on this particular map, on this particular agent. We can also maybe look at first deaths per round, because I would say that Killjoy staying alive is kind of important. And we can actually see that FNS is staying alive more than most of the other Killjoys on Ascent. Obviously, OpTic didn't have the greatest success on Ascent. We can see he's 0-2 when he plays Killjoy here. So now let's go ahead and look at the Fade performances, because that was the other one. And once again, if we sort by ACS, we can see FNS at the bottom, kill death ratio, FNS second from the bottom, average damage per round at the bottom. Again, I wouldn't necessarily say that Fade is responsible for damage in the team. Maybe assists per round would be a little bit better of a stat to look at. We can see FNS performing kind of in the middle. The 1 and 2 record maybe states that, okay, maybe this just isn't that good of a map for OpTic, and FNS's performance could play a role in that. But now let's go ahead and look at some of the other maps. If we look at Bind, FNS played Viper basically every single time they played this. So let's go ahead and sort by Viper. We can sort by ACS for this one. And we can see FNS kind of right around in the middle. Now, Viper on Bind is definitely an agent that I would say has a bit more chance for impact. So ACS is kind of an important stat here. I would say maybe damage is even more important. We can see FNS in the top half in this case. Maybe even more important than that is the assist, because you got to think about your wall and your smoke and your mollies kind of doing chip damage and allowing other people to finish off kills. So let's sort by assist, and we can see FNS actually near the top.
That's what happens when you let daddy call.
Of this category. Again, being a smoke agent, very important to stay alive. So let's go ahead and sort by first death, percentage of rounds that start with the first death for this character. And FNS, again, kind of in the top half. So really not that bad of a performance. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Haven as well. And in this case, there isn't the best data to look at, because as we're going to see, the number of people playing Killjoy is very low. OpTic did not play Icebox at all, so we'll go ahead and skip over to Breeze. We'll do the same sort of sorting here. And so let's go ahead and bring up Viper. And if we sort by ACS, you can see FNS again, kind of in the middle, and sorting by kill death ratio, maybe a little bit lower, but I don't think that Viper is necessarily an agent that you care too much about ACS. I think damage is more important. Again, FNS maybe in the bottom half here. Again, more importantly, staying alive on a smoker is very, very important. So FNS down towards the bottom. This map maybe not the best. 1 in 4 record for OpTic on Breeze clearly shows that just the team was not performing super well on the map in general. Let's go ahead and just quickly go through Fracture and Pearl as well. So sorting by the agents that FNS played here, he was again on the Breach, on Fracture. So let's go ahead and put up all the Breach players, and we can see sorting by ACS that FNS actually, this is one of his better maps in terms of, fragging ability on a character. So Breach top 3, kill death ratio, he is top 3, damage per round, a little bit lower. But again, this is not a character that is known for doing a ton of damage. So let's go ahead and look at the assists, and we can see FNS top 3 again. So let's go ahead and just do Pearl quickly as well. FNS played Viper on this map, so let's go ahead and just filter through that. We can see that if we sort by ACS, we've got top 3 for FNS, kill death ratio also in the top 3. And again, I don't really feel like Viper is necessarily a character that, ACS and kill death ratio is super important to pay attention to. I would look maybe more at damage and assists and that kind of stuff. So if we do sort by damage, maybe a little bit lower in those statistics, but if we look at assists, we can see that FNS has actually had the highest contribution to his team with the assists compared to all the other Vipers. And again, it's very important that you stay alive on Viper. So, middle of the pack, nothing super egregious that we can see as far as his performance there. One other thing that I do want to talk about is the factor of IGLing, because this is something that's very, very hard to quantify with statistics and does certainly play a role in players' performance in the game. Because if you are IGLing, you're probably going to be spending a lot more time looking at the minimap. You might get caught with utility out because you're trying to set up your teammates a lot of the time. There's a whole lot more going on. You're trying to process information that your teammates are giving to you. And so it's really important to remember that in general, you kind of expect the IGLs to do worse than their counterparts. I do wanted to put FNS sort of in the context of IGLs. And so I went through and picked out the stats of all the players that I believe or are confirmed to be IGLs for their teams. It's going to be a little bit weird because some people like, King and Scream are playing entry roles as the IGL. We have people playing Smokes as the IGL. We have people playing the Sovas as the IGL. So it's a little bit all over the board. But again, I think you're going to see that if we start sorting this data, it's not really a clear moment where, as I sort for Ascent, FNS clearly the worst fade, the worst performance overall on this particular map through ACS. Let's go ahead and sort by assists, kind of in the middle of the pack. We've already kind of established that Ascent is maybe not the best map for FNS and for OpTic in general. So let's go ahead and look at Bind as well. Again, the context here is a little bit different just because we do have different agents and different roles kind of being mixed together. We've got our Raze players, King and Scream, having great performances on Bind, where Raze tends to have great performances. But we also do see that FNS here on Viper is certainly having some very solid performances and certainly better than quite a few other IGLs at the tournament. I would not say that there's any particular maps where it looks like FNS is holding his team back. In a lot of cases, he's actually doing a lot better than a lot of the other IGLs. Again, here we've got Killjoy, but you can just kind of see that there's no real concerning factors as far as the output in terms of frags and damage and assists and that kind of stuff coming from FNS. So I think this whole narrative that FNS is the reason that OpTic didn't win Champions and they would be better off, picking up Redgar or finding somebody else, keeping the rest of the team together and then replacing FNS, and then they'll certainly win Champions in 2023. I just don't think that is a valid way to look at this, because the thing about Valorant is that it's all contextual. All of the numbers that you see on the post-game, damage report, it's all contextual. It has to do with the map, it has to do with the role, it has to do with the agent. So if you're not looking at it with sort of these different pieces of context in mind, you just really don't understand what is happening. So I just wanted to make this video to just kind of showcase this data and explain, hopefully a little bit better, how to think about performance of individual players in the game of Valorant. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we will see you next time.